November Friday here at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Rainy all morning, cloudy, foggy, chilly. Game 2 of this 4-game weekend series from Wrigley Field, the Reds and the Chicago Cubs. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. A loss in the opener here last night for the Reds. Today, Brian Price will hand the ball to his main man, Johnny Cueto.
Well, he had a great outing his last time out. There were some questions about Johnny Cueto because he did miss a start with some elbow tenderness in the month of May, but he came back and he probably answered all of those questions last time out. He started off not throwing all that hard against the Padres, but when it all said and done, 4 hits, did a tremendous job. In fact, he got his fastball up to 95 miles an hour later in the ballgame, had 9 strikeouts and no runs. So I would say Johnny Cueto is back, being the good old Johnny Cueto that we're used to seeing.
On the other side of the ledger, this young man, Jason Hamill's having a good year.
Well, you know, they had him last year. They traded him away to Oakland. They got him back on a 2-year deal this year, and he's getting off to a tremendous start. In fact, those numbers are very much like Johnny Cueto up there with a 2.7 earned run average. He's gone back to the basics, and for Jason Hamill, that means fastball, slider. We'll see a lot of those sliders today, even against the left-handers. We'll get more into his pitch repertoire. This guy, this big guy, right-hander, 6'6", is pitching like a big guy on the mound right now.
When we come back, a reversal of fortune between these two teams. The Reds have dominated the Cubs over the last 5 years. It's anything but that so far in 2015. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Light mist falling here at Wrigley, but we're set for Game 2 of a 4-game set. I'm Jim Day. You know, you used to be able to just book it. When the Reds came to Wrigley or played the Cubs in general, at least winning 2 out of 3 in a series would just seem to be the norm. What have you done for me lately, though? Cubs have turned that around as part of our Out and Out storylines. Cubs are 8-1 in their last 9 games versus the Reds. They had won only 8 of their previous 26 against Cincinnati. Reds have lost 6 of their last 7 here at Wrigley. And you can also remember that the Reds once won 16 of 17 games versus the Cubs between August of 2012 and April of 2014. The Cubs have turned that around with solid young players, but the Reds looking to turn around their fortunes today. Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh with Johnny Cueto on the hill.
Well, we'll see if the Reds can do just that as they drop the opener of the series here last night by a final count of 6-3. The Cubs got incredible relief pitching. 6 innings of shutout baseball after Wada was knocked out of the game in the 4th. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup presented by Meyer. Schumacher in left, De Jesus at second, Votto at first, Frazier, Bruce, and Pena in the middle. Against Suarez for the injured Zach Cozart, Johnny Cueto will bat 8th, and back in the lineup in center field is Billy Hamilton. Jason Hamill makes his 12th start, 5 up, 2 down, ERA at 2.7.
Having a very good year as Jason Hamill. The strikeouts are up, the walks are down. He's keeping the ball in the ballpark for the most part, although he has given up 8 in 75 innings. That's not an alarming number.
There's ball 1 high to Schumacher, who gets a nod against a right-hander out in left field. We saw Dominguez, a right-handed batter, start against the left-hander Wada last night, and Wada hit a home run in the game. Well, Dominguez hit a home run off of Wada in the game. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike on Schumacher at 225. 9 doubles, 4 runs batted in. Well, you can't believe it is even remotely close to a summer month here in Chicago today. Very foggy. It was humid, and actually the temperatures were not all that bad early in the morning, but as this day has rolled into now a little after 3 o'clock Central Time in the afternoon, it is 52 degrees, very damp. It rained a lot overnight and into the morning. I mean, there is a bone chill in the air today. Swung on and fouled out of play.
Well, you can tell by the direction the flags are blowing, which is straight in from center field. The wind is coming off the lake. The lake water still very cold, bringing in that wet, damp air. And this is another really good day to pitch here at Wrigley Field.
On the ground and right under the glove of Addison Russell. So Schumacher will reach on the air by the Cub shortstop turned second baseman Russell.
Just didn't get his tailgate down. I always remember some of those Little League coaches, you know, and trying to tell you to get down on the ball. One of the politically correct ways of saying it is get your tailgate down so you can see the ball coming at you. Get your eyes down near the dirt. He didn't come anywhere close to that, and he picks up an error.
So you're saying that I should move away from the politically incorrect terms as a baseball coach?
Yes, yes.
Right.
I would suggest that.
All right.
Although you're normally pretty politically correct.
Well, some of the parents out in TP may have a disagreement.
Well,
that's the way it goes.
They'll get the idea.
Yeah, they'll get over
the
it.
tailgate will work.
Good. Well, I feel good now. Some new material. Here's Ivan De Jesus Jr. 5 hits and 17 at-bats, including a couple of home runs for Ivan De Jesus Jr. He went 1 for 4 at a single in the series opener last night.
This might be a guy you'd put a play on with right here. Good contact hitter. Hamill's got a relatively straight fastball.
Yep, runner goes. That ball is smoked by De Jesus, and this baby is headed to the wall. They're going to wave around Schumacher, and how about Ivan De Jesus Jr.? Boy, oh boy, has he been something. 6 hits. He now has 6 runs batted in, and it's 1-0 Reds after 2 batters.
Of course, the whole idea of a hit and run is put the ball in play, preferably on the ground. But, I mean, he gets a ball on the inner third of the plate, I mean, about waist high, that he's just not thinking about hitting that ball to right field. He's thinking about crushing it somewhere, and he does exactly that. A little chula into the corner of the ivy.
Two doubles, 2 home runs, and 18 at bats, 6 runs batted in for De Jesus.
That is jumping all over your opportunity.
Now Joey Votto, he looks at ball 1. Joey had 1 hit in 4 at bats last night, had a double off the ivy in left center field. So you take advantage of the additional out handed over by the Chicago defense. Breaking ball drops in there. You know, for Hamill, and we talk about pitchers, Chris, all the time, you being a former major league pitcher, you know, he really bounced around without a lot of success for the overwhelming majority of his career. Tampa Bay, Colorado, Baltimore. But then when he came to the Cubs last year, he was a different guy. Fly ball into left field, and Coghlan will make the catch. And once again, the Reds miss a chance to advance a runner 90 feet. Saw that in the game last night. Cubs defensively presented by Ford. Fowler flanked by Coghlan, and today it is the one-time Red Denorfia getting the start in right field with Soler out injured. Brian Castro, Russell Rizzo along the infield, and again Montero behind the plate. Denorfia, when he's had a chance to play, has certainly made the most of it. 15 hits and 35 at bats. Now Frazier, a very quiet night last night. He's down a strike. Todd 0 for 4 and only had 1 ball leave the infield. Frazier, the team leader, with 37 runs batted in. He's behind 0-2.
Frazier had a couple of calls last night on him that he really did not think that were strikes were called strikes, and he may think that that is just another one of those continuation of. Although our Fox track showed that it caught the upper inside part of the zone.
It's a nice play by Montero.
That's his slider, Hamill's, and that's his really go-to pitch. Jason Hamill is a guy that against right-handers has gone really become a 2-pitch pitcher. Doesn't throw many change-ups, doesn't throw many curveballs, but it's fastball slider. He tried to snap that one off a little bit too hard.
Reds have now scored in the opening inning in 5 of their last 7 games. Fastball is high.
Here you're talking about Hamill. You know, he was drafted by the Tampa Bay Rays, 10th round, so they never had expectations that he would grow into, say, a top of the order or top of the rotation starter. He never really grew into his scouting report, but he never really mildly disappointed either. He was kind of in between. And I think that's why he was been traded around a little bit. Got his first major league win against the Orioles. He was traded to the Rockies. Ended up starting Game 3 of the National League Division Series that year in 2009 against the Phillies. Signed a 2-year deal with the Rockies then, and he was traded to Baltimore. In fact, in his first game with Baltimore, he nearly threw a no-hitter. 2013, Hamill was the opening day starter for the Orioles. In January of last year, he signed a 1-year deal with the Cubs and then was traded on the 4th of July weekend along with Jeff Samardzija to the Oakland A's in exchange for a number of players, including Addison Russell, who's now starting second baseman for the Cubs.
That ball is hammered by Frazier. This will sail over the head of Fowler and ricochets off the wall. Run scoring doubles in the inning by De Jesus and Frazier. And the Reds are off and running with a 2-0 lead.
Well, Frazier bounced back in this at bat where he thought he may have had a couple of bad calls go against him, and that is just a hanging slider right there. I mean, that's a spot where you throw your slider 85 miles an hour, it usually is going to get hit, and Frazier hits it very hard. So the Reds now taking advantage early on of a little bit of in the strike zone wildness from Jason Hammel.
Now Jay Bruce, batting average of .213, has 9 home runs and 29 runs batted in, and the fastball is low. Hammel is coming off back-to-back outings where he has just been simply sensational. This is his first start at home in a month. There goes a runner, second and third. Throw down there is not going to be in time, and Frazier with his 7th stolen base of the year.
Well, what a nice pick at the other end by Chris Bryant. That ball looked like it was heading into left field. Frazier gets a big jump. Hammel right now is more concerned about throwing the ball where he wants to, and that little short hop down there nearly cost the Cubs another run.
Well, let's see if Bruce can get Frazier home. Infield in for Chicago. 1 out, 1 ball, 1 strike. And Jay bounces it foul. In fact, this is only the 2nd start that Hammel has made at Wrigley Field, going all the way back to the 3rd of May. His last 2 outings, deep into the 7th in Miami, allowed 1 run, punched out 11. His last start in Washington against a good Nationals team, 8+ 2 runs. But the Reds have jumped all over him in the opening inning, thanks in large part to the error made by Addison Russell on a routine ground ball off the leadoff batter Skip Schumacher's bat. Johnny Cueto has to be thinking he hit the lottery here. It is rare Cueto is given this kind of run support in an entire game, much less the very first inning. 2-2 to Bruce. 3-2.
Yeah, he's just kind of spinning that breaking pitch up there right now. I don't know whether it's the cold weather, whether he can't get a good grip. Maybe it's just one of those days where he's going to have to stick with it. But he's not throwing that slider anywhere near the way he has last couple of starts.
Three-two pitch. Struck him out. That's a big out for Hammel. And a big out by Bruce. 2 away in the inning.
Big swing by Jay Bruce right there. When your challenge is simply put the ball in play, boy, his front side flies open right there, bat lagging behind. Hamels finally gets that slider down in a spot that he wants it. A huge out.
Now Brian Pena, 306 batter with 9 runs batted in. The infield naturally backs up at 2 away. And breaking balls in there, strike. Brian hit the ball very hard twice last night, had 1 hit, scored a run. A pair of runs here in the Reds' opening inning. Frazier at third. And he will score on a base hit. A 2-out single by Brian Pena. 3-0 Reds. Well, the beat goes on for Pena. He has just done an outstanding job again this year. Really is an everyday player, because that's what he is after the injury to Devin Mesoraco.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, very patient at the plate. He uses the entire field, and that ball, he gets it on it. Really looks like center cut, and he rips it right into right field.
Eugenio Suarez made his Reds debut here last night after the terrible injury, and certainly our very best and a speedy recovery. Thoughts and prayers to Zach Cozart. Upcoming surgery on Monday after tearing the ACL in his knee. On a play at first base. Final day before the Reds traveled here to Chicago. Suarez, who more than likely will play shortstop the remainder of this year. Walked and scored, also had a hit in 3 at-bats last night. Nothing into the count. Told you this young man made better than 80 starts playing regularly for a very good Detroit Tigers team a season ago. So he will not be intimidated by playing daily at the big league level.
And he's only 23 years old. And he's a very interesting guy, Tom. We watched him a lot in spring training. He's got some pop in his bat. He looks like he makes all the plays that he can get to defensively at shortstop. So one door closes, another opens.
Started 2, was able to lay off that slider in the dirt. In a 32 pitch opening inning for Hamel. And even though only one of the runs is an earned run in this inning, the Reds have scored 3 times against him. Ball ripped foul and out of play up the third base line. Of course, the Reds had a pretty fair shortstop for just a few days. It also hails from Venezuela. Born number 13 in a red uniform. One of the all-time greats.
Better believe it. Davey Concepcion. A lot feel like Davey ought to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, he should be. Start looking inside some of the numbers. And Suarez hitting the back with a 1-2 fastball. This is the first time the entire year that Hamel has thrown more than 30 pitches in an inning.
You can tell it's just one of those days. I mean, the way he was bouncing his breaking ball and then hanging a couple of breaking balls here. He gets a fastball, get away from him. You know, he's never really had much success against the Reds, but it's been a while since Jason Hamel has pitched against him. I mean, you got to go way back to 2011 when he was a member of the Colorado Rockies. And he's been off to a terrific start this year, 5-2 record. Earned run average at 2.7. You know, when you get if you're pitching and if you get to bat in the first inning, that's always a real good sign.
Oh yeah. Tapper back to the mound, and for Jason Hamel, since joining the Cubs, that's the most pitches he has ever thrown in a single half inning. And the Reds make him pay with a 3 spot. So now Johnny, oh Johnny, be good. Well, Brian Price has to feel pretty good about the start of things here today. A 3-run top of the first inning. And he has his main man getting the ball facing this Chicago Cubs lineup. Fowler, Rizzo, Bryant. Boy, they're mighty good at the top. Montero, Castro, and Coghlan in the middle. Denorfi in right. Hamill bats 8th. Addison Russell plays second base and bats 9th. Johnny Cueto 4 up, 4 down. League hitting .211 against him.
Now, Johnny's now 29 years old in his 14th season. I think it's 12th season with the Reds overall. I mean, including the minor leagues when they signed him as a teenager out of San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic. And boy, he came back and pitched a game last time out that was just outstanding against the Padres, and I think answered any questions about the health of his arm. And that may be one reason why, Tom, but we saw a lot of them before the ball game in the media dining room up there, that there are a lot of scouts at this ball game today. They all like to play it close to their vest. They don't want to say who they're here to see, but they weren't here yesterday. A lot of them weren't. And they probably won't be here tomorrow.
Well, it's interesting when you sit around and you start looking around at teams that might be in the same sort of situation, if you will, that the Reds are in. And you and I and Jeff Brantley and my dad were sitting around today. And really, if you think about it, although there are differences as far as the circumstances are concerned, the particulars are concerned, the one team that mirrors the Reds anyway, as far as appearing to be a club that's looking to move some players, bring in younger players, if indeed the Reds decide to go that direction, and no one has said that they for sure are. We know Philadelphia is, and that would be the team we're getting to. They have a reliever that would be a coveted guy in Jonathan Papelbon. If the Reds elected to go in that direction, they certainly would have more than just a slightly coveted closer in Aroldis Chapman. The Phillies have a starter, although on a longer-term contract, coveted by many teams. That would be Cole Hamels. Whereas Johnny Cueto is a free agent at season's end, and everybody and his brother would want Cueto. Gone swinging is Papelbon.
Well, a changeup right here does Dexter Fowler, and look at the depth of that ball. It just dropped right off the table. The question is, what will a team be willing to give up for a rental player? Because that could be what all you get with Johnny Cueto. He hits the free agent market at the end of the year. And how badly do you want an ace of the staff to join you for just the last few months of the season?
Which is why what the Cubs did last year is Rizzo fouls it back out of play in the trade that you brought up earlier that involved today's starting pitcher Jason Hamill along with another starting pitcher at the time the Cubs' 8th in Jeff Samardzija. As there's a fly ball in the short left field, Schumacher broke back. He'll come in to get it 2 away in the inning. Is that when the A's made the big trade involving Addison Russell and others in the deal with the Cubs, Samardzija had another year left on his contract, so you weren't getting a player or a pitcher in his case for just 3 months. You were in Hamill, but in Samardzija, the main really piece in that deal, you know, Oakland theoretically could have had him for another year. They made the decision to flip him over to the south side of Chicago, where he now pitches for the White Sox.
And Hamels comes back to Chicago where he started.
Yep.
In the meantime, the Cubs ended up getting Addison Russell, Dan Straley, and I think another minor leaguer in that deal.
There's a base here in the left field, a 2-out single by Chris Bryant. And, you know, I want to make sure nobody misunderstands what we're saying here. We have no inside information. We have no idea if the Reds are going to be in quote-unquote unload or trade mode. We don't know. It's just speculation that's going on all over baseball. Are the Reds going to be sellers? Are they even thinking about being buyers?
Yeah. Well, one thing's for certain. There will be some trade deadline deals, and they begin to happen, maybe not in the month of June. Last year with the deal with the Cubs, sending the 2 pitchers you talked about to Oakland happened the first week of July, which everybody thought was very early. So you just talk about the pros and cons of dealing a guy early as opposed to waiting right to the deadline, and you know whether you're going to be a buyer or a seller. Makes for fun talking.
Montero, that big swing and a miss. Big swing, which we talked about last night, and boy, did he unload on Michael Lorenzen with 2 aboard in the opening inning here last night with the wind blowing slightly in. He hammered one to the seats and straight away center field for a 3-run home run.
That was an interesting at bat for Miguel Montero because it started out 3 balls and no strikes. And he had the green light. He swung at the 3-0 pitch. He swung at the 3-1 pitch, and it was just a hair late on each one of those. He got one more fastball, and that's the one he needed. For a guy that hit the ball into the seats last night into the wind, maybe not as strong a wind as it is this afternoon. Billy Hamilton certainly not giving Miguel Montero much credit for being a strong guy at the plate. Hamilton always plays a very shallow center field, and even with Montero up there, the number 4 hitter in the lineup, he's still very shallow, almost daring him to hit it over his head.
2-2 pitch. Just missed up and in. 3-2 on Montero. Ryan, a 2-out single. He'll get started as Votto backs up behind him on the 3-2 pitch. And a ground ball right out to the second baseman, De Jesus. Inning over. 1 hit, 1 left. We played 1. The Reds in front of Hamill and the Cubs. 3-0. Our T-Mobile game changer. The Cubs don't like seeing Billy Hamilton. In his career against Chicago Cubs pitching, those are pretty impressive numbers there, Mr. Will.
Well, you're not kidding about that. Of course, the Reds have really rolled over the Cubs over the last few years. A little different this year, but Billy Hamilton, since he joined the Reds, has had a lot to do with that. 14 stolen bases.
Well, nice to see Billy back in the lineup. One of a number of Reds regulars missing time, whether it be still on the active roster. Same holds true, of course, for Brandon Phillips or those on the disabled list. Devin Mesoraco, Marlon Byrd. 1-1 the count. Hamilton's missed the last 3 games with a sore left wrist. And now the 1-1 offering. Shows punt, looks at a strike. It was on May the 17th, almost a month ago, where Hamilton batted 8th for the first time in his career. That sapped a string of 171 consecutive starts batting leadoff that began with his second career start. Two to Billy. Popped up. Coughlin for out number 1. The Cubs did not gain ground on the front-running Cardinals with their win over the Reds here last night. 32 up, 26 down, 6 games over 500. They did break a second-place tie with the idle Pirates. Reds come in 27 up, 32 down, had a 4-game winning streak snapped last night. Flags, of course, fly above the center field scoreboard. The way they stack up in the standings in each division. Dodgers on top in the West, Cardinals in the Central, Mets to the East. Schumacher reached on that key error by Addison Russell leading off the game, and then scored when the next batter, DeJesus, doubled. He would score on a double by Frazier, and then Pena would knock in Todd with a 2-out single. 2-2 to Schumacher.
Well, it only turned out to be a key double because it was followed by a couple of doubles of the next 3 batters. I mean, had Hamill been able to go out and get a ground ball out of Ivan DeJesus or make some better pitches in that inning, that Russell error wouldn't have been anywhere near as big as it seems right now. You know, sometimes the pitcher picks up the fielder and sometimes the other way around.
Still 3-2 on Schumacher. Well, despite the weather, big crowd on hand for this very odd starting time. You know, for years and years and years, the Cubs basically played every game during the day at 1:20 Central Time, except Fridays, and they would play at 2:20. And those were back in the days when they were limited to 18 night games per year. Now the number of night games has jumped significantly, but they're still staggering some of their start times. And you know, those who have played for the Cubs for a long time will tell you, as there's ball 4 to Schumacher, that the players have never liked the staggered starting times. You never get into any kind of regular routine. And of course, they're never going to have it like most teams have it, where you're playing the overwhelming majority of games at nighttime. But they still start a lot of games at 1:20 during the week, and now they've gone to 3 o'clock on Friday afternoons once school lets out. Runner goes, swing and a miss. And the ball arrived the same time as Schumacher did. It's a pretty nifty tag right there as the ball was coming in, made by Addison Russell.
A little bit of luck involved too on the fact that that ball was well off the second base bag, but it just happened to be in a spot where the shortstop could come by. Or was it Russell the second baseman, to be able to catch and tag at the same time almost involuntarily? Montero did a nice job getting rid of that ball, because I thought that Schumacher had a very big jump.
DeJesus, a run scoring double to left field in the first inning. Got a count of 2 balls and 1 strike with 2 away here in the Reds' second. Well, you can hear Hamill screaming at himself all the way from up here. Well, young kids better find some earplugs because it's not pretty. There's ball 4.
I forgot they had a big inning his first inning out there as far as pitch count. He could have used an easy one here. Next pitch he will deliver, and he's not through the second inning yet. It will be number 57. As I said at the very open, that his walks are well down this year, and he's second in the league in that in walks per 9 innings.
Yeah, he'd only walked 9 batters in 75 innings coming into the game today. He's hit a batter, and now he's walked 2 in a row here in the 3rd inning and has to face Joey Votto.
Well, he's retired 4 batters, and it's taken him 57 pitches to do so. What choice do you have if you're Jason Hamill? You just go out there and you keep battling. Obviously something going on there today. Bad rhythm, bad biorhythms, bad release point.
In the air, left center field, a long run for Fowler, and he'll catch it in front of the wall to end the inning. Reds lead 3-0. Behind Johnny Cueto today, presented by Floyd. Schumacher gets a start in left after Dominguez did in the opener last night. Billy back in there in center. Same infield we saw here last night. Pennigan Pena behind the plate. All right, here we go in the Cubs second. Reds leading 3-0. First pitch swinging is Castro. Jay Bruce to his left. 1 pitch, 1 out. You'll take that all day, every day. You and I were walking out of the ballpark last night down by where the Cubs come out of their clubhouse. They had a guy who he walked out the same time we did, although he walked out maybe about 7-10 steps ahead of us, and he had on a pair of gym shorts, sneakers, t-shirt, so we couldn't see him, his face to try and recognize who it was. But you're sitting here saying, golly day, is that a big dude?
Exactly.
And I mean, ankles, calves,
shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, just a huge man. There's a base hit in the left field. And the ball rolls right by Schumacher on that wet grass. And that'll be a single and an error. charge to Skip Schumacher, allowing Coghlan to go to second base. Looked like that thing just skipped right under his glove. Well, maybe not. How did you say it? The politically correct term?
Get that tailgate down.
I got to remember that. Tailgate.
Let me write that down for you.
Please. So here's Chris Denorfia. We mentioned it. Not a lot of playing time for Denorfia. Only 35 at bats, but he has 15 base hits. Ball one high. Anyway, walking out last night, and the guy's carrying a bat as he's walking in front of us. And as he goes walking by a bunch of the fans, this little boy says, "Sir, can I have your autograph?" Well, he did even better than that. He turned around and gave the kid the bat. And then he walks a little further and stops and visits with I assume, one of his teammates' family that's in from out of town, or maybe their kids or whatever it might be. And you're thinking, man, who's this guy? And it turns out it was Anthony Rizzo. It's pretty cool, wasn't it?
Really made that young kid's night, maybe his year. I mean, to have Anthony Rizzo, of all people, come up and just hand him a bat and say, "Here, kid." I mean, had the tape on it, wrapped. It was obviously a game-used bat. Nice guy. Really nice guy.
He did a big charity event that a number of the Reds were involved in out in Arizona. And we talk all the time. It doesn't matter what major league team you go to. So many of these guys are giving up so much of their time for causes that are important to them. You know, Rizzo, along with other players from the Cubs, a number of players from the Reds, and all the teams out in Arizona during spring training, part of a big fundraiser.
I think your dad was involved in that, wasn't he?
He just said, and he came away saying, trying to remember who the other guy was besides Rizzo, but it was a Rizzo and somebody else, and he came back the next day and said, wow, what impressive guys. Gone swinging Denorfia, second strikeout for Johnny, 2 out in the inning. Joe Magnus had the pitcher bat 8th every game this season. So here's Hamill in the 8th spot. He looks at ball 1 down low. Hey, what, this guy's not an easy out. 7 hits and 30 at bats with a double and a run batted in. Just off the inside corner. That's what we talked about. Guys, not an easy out. Here comes a runner. Here comes a throw. And Hamill gets Chicago on the board with a 2-strike, 2-out base hit. A 3-1 game. Reds in front.
Now you put the ball in play, something good might happen for you. We saw Michael Lorenzen last night with a 2-run triple to drive the 2 runs in the Reds had early on in that ball game. So the error has something to do with the run here. The Cubs are able to push across and come back within 2.
Addison Russell, a .242 batter, has 4 home runs and 16 runs batted in. We were talking about that deal that Hamill was involved in with some margin to the Athletics. Addison Russell coming back the other way along with others. And here he is in his first year in the major leagues. I mean, he was the A's #1 prospect. Some felt like he was a second or third best overall prospect among all teams in Major League Baseball last year. He's undergone a position change. The shortstop throughout his entire career. And Starlin Castro, of course, has that spot here for the Cubs, so they moved Russell over to second base. There was talk about Russell going to third, and one of their big prospects, Javier Baez, being brought up to the major leagues, but he just broke his finger, so he's going to be out for quite a while. This inning began on the very first pitch, a routine fly ball to right for an out by Castro, and then Coghlan a single into left. That ball rolled right through the legs of Skip Schumacher, allowing Coghlan to go to second after a strikeout, an RBI single by Hamill. And now this ball is killed into right center field. Pitcher is on his way to third. They're going to wave him around. And nothing on that throw from Suarez. And all of a sudden, 2 out base hits as it comes within a run.
Well, it looks like this pitch that Russell had up there, he kind of fought that ball off. It was way up in the zone. But he really gave it a ride. Billy Hamilton playing him shallow gets burned on that one in the right center field gap. And all the way from first base, the pitcher comes around to score.
Johnny Cueto proving to be human after all, allowing a 2-strike 2-out hit to the pitcher to knock in a run, a 2-out 2-strike double to the rookie Russell to drive in a run. It's the first time all year long a number 9 hitter has knocked in a run off Johnny Cueto.
Well, that would make sense, because most teams, except the 2 that are playing here today, bat their pitcher 9th. Joe Madden started it really in late April, I believe, and recently Brian Price has picked up on batting the pitcher 8th.
It's going to be a tough play here. And what a play by Schumacher in fair territory to make that catch. That is a big-time play. Umpire said it was a fair ball. So an error to start the inning by Skip, but a beauty there to end it.
Cubs have edged closer here on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day out here near the Reds bullpen, and Tom and Chris were talking about yesterday how about the novelty of this is still old school. The bullpens are down each baseline, but don't get used to it. This bad boy's going away. Part of the renovation plans, at least the plans right now, are to move these bullpens underneath the bleachers out in the outfield, and it's coming with mixed reviews because I think it's awfully cool, like you guys thought, to still have those bullpens old school. James Russell of the Cubs says he doesn't like it because he likes the interaction with fans, and he says he gets to meet some cool people. Now, if you ask Carlos Marmol, he might have a different opinion on that, but it's going away. That novelty of the fans being able to see the pitchers warm up, at least the plans right now are to have it go out underneath the bleachers, and I think it's a shame. By the way, they're just doing it to put in a couple more rows of seats for more revenue.
Well, I mean, look, in the grand scheme of things, if you keep the bullpens there, you're paying guys money. If you create a couple of rows of seats, you're making money. This ball is hammered by Frazier. A laser to the bleachers in left field. That's right, laser by Frazier. And the Reds lead 4-2.
I kind of like that, and I may steal it. I'd like to see a whole lot more of it out of Todd Frazier. He's given the Reds plenty of those already this year. This comes on an 0-2 pitch. A fastball that just kind of drifts back out on the outer third of the plate. He's got great extension. That's a solid part of the bat there.
And he is so strong. Todd, a couple of runs batted in the game today, a double and a home run. 39 runs batted in on the season. That's his 18th home run. Both are team highs. So that would leave, I'm trying to think, San Francisco still has the bullpens in the quote-unquote field of play, right?
Only because they forgot to include those in the original architectural drawings of the ballpark. So they had to put them there. Okay, so they do.
You and I were somewhere where we were talking about it, though I thought last year somewhere else, because we had brought up Wrigley Field. There's a liner, and it's caught by Fowler. I'm trying to think. We so infrequently get to some of these other ballparks anymore. It's hard to remember. Kansas City does not. We have not been to Minnesota. You been to Minnesota?
Have not.
Okay. Detroit does not. The White Sox do not. Cleveland does not. Just trying to think of the National League. Are there any other parks? I don't think so. But we were somewhere, and I thought we were talking about, or maybe I had made the mistake of saying, well, Wrigley Field was the only one left, and so I said, no, don't forget about San Francisco. You bring up that thing about the architects forgetting about bullpens. Nothing will top the forgetfulness of those that designed the football stadium in St. Louis, where the NFL makes more money off television than any sport could even begin to imagine. And guess what they forgot to put in a brand new football stadium in St. Louis? A television booth. So what they did was, in essence, if you were to just take this baseball stadium right here, is you would go down to the first, well, where our cameras are, the high home cameras, as you call them. And you basically would put up a tarp. You know.
Right.
And you just sit right there. So when you do a football game, it's like where those guys are right there. When you do an NFL game in St. Louis, you sit there during the whole game, and when Mother Nature calls, it's just like the guy sitting four rows behind you.
Yeah.
You're going the same joint.
Welcome to the real world, Tommy.
Yeah, no doubt. Suarez hammers one foul down the left field line.
So they put enough spaces in for all the cameras everywhere, but just not room for the announcers.
There is no television booth. They have skyboxes,
but
they have a writer's box.
Yeah, but they have the TV cameras, but no room for the announcers.
Nowhere at all.
I'm not sure I like that trend.
We might be facing a lot more of that in years to come. Suarez went around. Reds get a home run by Frazier. And after 2.5, the Reds lead Hamill and the Cubs. It's 4-2. Well, IGS bringing the energy. Chris, something you brought up last night during the daytime. How about the numbers for Johnny Cueto going back to the start of 2011?
Well, those are major league ranks on your right. 32 wins is best in all of baseball. Earned run is best. Opponent batting average 210. Although I'm not so sure you can really call this a day game, given the fact that it's 3 o'clock start, and it seems like it's sometime in late November.
You're not lying. I mean, we're right in the heart of a Big Ten country. This is where the Big Ten Conference has its headquarters. And I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find any games being played in the Big Ten in November that are a whole lot worse than this weather-wise.
Might say it's World Series weather.
I think they might bundle up and be okay with that around here.
I think they'd be okay with that anywhere. That's the whole idea. I wouldn't want to be sitting behind that guy, though.
You know who would have loved that guy? Was Harry Caray. Not only the hat, it was a jam shot foul ball, but the fact that, of course, Harry was the legendary spokesperson for Budweiser. And with Budweiser on the side of that, well, he'd have had a field day with that fella in a good way. How about that pitch? 93 knee high on the outside corner to Rizzo.
Strikeout number 3 in the game for Cueto. You know, the one thing that you see, we show you the Fox box with all the spots of all the different pitches in location where they are. But when you see Cueto's graphs like that, you see him miss down, out of the zone, and you see him miss away, you see him miss inside. He rarely misses right down the center of the plate. That's where you pay the most pain.
Bryant hooked a single into left field in the first inning.
That's a big guy, and I know that he's got tremendous talent and big upside. I saw him take a couple of swings last night on pitches that were down and in like that he just kind of looked awkward on. I mean, anytime you're, what is he, 6'5" or at least 6'5"? Those guys have more difficulty on pitches that are in than on pitches that are away, normally. Of course, the conventional thing to do is when you get a couple of strikes on the guys, you go down and away and you hope he chases your slider. He's probably had a whole bunch of hangers in his minor league career that we're still looking for. That's a spot for him right there, is down and in.
Back-to-back strikeouts against Rizzo and Bryant for Johnny.
Of course, when you have a changeup like Johnny Cueto and you're gearing up for 95 and he gives you 85, that's the other part of it.
Here's Miguel Montero. He grounded out to Ivan De Jesus his first time up. Strike one. All the rest of the action around Major League Baseball will be played under the lights, conventional style, that is, under the lights later tonight. Talked about that, a very good series beginning tonight in St. Louis. Kansas City coming to town after the Royals beat St. Louis in a series in KC earlier this year, and now the Royals return to visit.
That's Ventura and Jaime Garcia matchups in that game.
I still can't believe how hard that Ventura throws.
I can't believe he's got a losing record given the fact that he throws so hard. Of course, a lot of that has to do with run support and so on.
He looked so good that night against the Reds. Both of those clubs are division leaders. The Royals by 2 over Minnesota, and a hearty 6-game cushion for the Cardinals over these Cubs. 2-2 pitch. We'll do it again.
In fact, that was a matchup that when we saw Giordano Ventura, he was pitching against Johnny Cueto. He beat Cueto that night. Cueto gave up 3 runs in 7 innings, and Ventura shut the Reds down on 4 hits through 7. And their bullpen did the rest.
And they have a good bullpen. Johnny wanted to double check on the count because a moment ago the scoreboard operator here, as far as the balls and strikes, Rick Fuchs, we've talked about him before. This guy just does an unbelievable job, and I'm not sure if something got crossed up. Speaking of unbelievable job, how about Cueto through Rizzo, Bryant, and Montero? The fans aside, Johnny's fired up.
MLB.com. At Bat, the #1 application for all live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, statcasts, and more. Get MLB.com at Bat for your smartphone or your tablet.
Nice.
You've got that on your phone? I've got it on mine.
Cueto puts one down and a foul ball. Can you believe that? Big smile on Johnny's face. He almost laid that one down to perfection.
And what does the organ player break into as this ball goes right across the foul line? I walk the line. He had some pretty good backspin on that ball, Johnny did.
That's Gary Pressey. He's handled the organ here for over 30 years. Cueto says forget the stinking bunt. They're going to throw to first. Johnny's worn out. I mean, that's a sprint on a bunt and then a sprint on a base hit to center field.
It's just not fair. If he didn't hit it so hard, they wouldn't have had even a chance. But look how shallow Dexter Fowler's playing. No harm, no foul on the collision. He tomahawked that ball.
You run into Rizzo, that's like running into a redwood.
Well, the other thing is, he's probably happy Billy Hamilton took that first pitch. Last thing he wants to do is see Hamilton hit one in the gap right now. Now he's ready.
Two 2-0 on Billy. Reds lead 4-2 as they bat here in the top half of the 4th inning. Cubs have 4 hits. Reds have 5 after the single by Johnny. And another pop-up, and that is just not what Hamilton has in mind. Second time today. Once to left, now to center. 1 out in the inning. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment. That is brought to you by Miller Lite. Reds have had their leadoff man aboard in 3 of the front 4 innings. In the first and in the third, they scored. We'll see if they can do the same here in the 4th. Schumacher reached on an error to lead off the game by Addison Russell and scored on a double by De Jesus. Then Schumacher walked and was thrown out trying to steal in the second inning. Hooked into right field, a base hit. Johnny advancing on to second base. Now you have the big guys coming up. And Chris Bosio will be sent to the mound. Joe Madden certainly recognizes it. This is a very important sequence coming up for Jason Hammond.
Well, there is, but it's not like they've got the action in the bullpen, although they're beginning to move around down there right now. I mean, it's been a struggle for Hamill really since the first pitch of the game.
Ross Cup, the left-hander, will begin to throw in the Chicago bullpen. Single by Cueto to begin the inning. A 1-out single by Schumacher advances Johnny on to second base, and here's De Jesus. A perfect day for him. An RBI double, has scored a run, also drawn a walk. Cueto bluffed running.
Well, if you're Joe Madden, you've got to be thinking, well, I just saw Johnny Cueto strike out the side, so any more runs that the Reds get right now may put this thing out of reach the way he's been throwing the ball.
Slow bouncing. Only play is to first for Castro. They get the out. Cueto moves down to third, and up to second goes Schumacher. So the dilemma now, if you're Hamill, do you walk the left-handed batting Joey Votto to face Frazier, who has a double and a home run against you already in the game? You've retired Votto twice, and they've made the decision they're going to walk him, which makes you wonder, are they going to bring in Rosca up here in the fourth inning?
A lefty to face Frazier?
No, I thought maybe to face Votto really, here, but no.
That would really be flying by the seat of your pants.
Yes, it would.
This comes out of the category of pick your poison.
Yep. Boy, if you're Frazier, there is no doubt he plays with an edge about him to begin with anyway. But when you have doubled and homer off a guy and they're walking anybody in front of you, this is the last time he was up.
That was a laser beam. Would you call it a Frazier laser?
Yeah, laser by Frazier. Well, here he is with the bases loaded, looking for another one. And there's a strike.
You bring a good point up about an intentional walk. You know what Tony La Russa used to do would be a good old-fashioned pitch around. He wouldn't let the pitcher throw strikes to the hitter, but he wouldn't make it an obvious intentional walk, thereby not giving the guy any extra motivation.
Hamill gets in front 0-2. When Frazier homered his last time, it was an 0-2 count. And if you can believe this, it is only the third time in Frazier's career he had ever homered on an 0-2 pitch. And the other two times he did it came last season. Now trying to make Hamill pay 0-2 here. Cueto at third, Schumacher at second base, Votto on at first. 2 outs, 1 ball, 2 strikes to Todd Frazier. Oh, he had one to hammer there, a hanger. That is center cut right there. So the move pays off after the intentional pass to Votto.
you need to know to get ready for that day's game is brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. I'm Jim Day. I'm out here in right field amongst the bleacher creatures. And yesterday was the first day that they had the right field bleachers open, and it is certainly a different world out here. Not only are the bleachers open, but now there's a private party area. Oh, someone's crashing my party. Private party area just below the new scoreboard in right field. And I got to tell you, the first time we were here with that big board in left field, it looked a little disjointed, but now that they got the board in right field in the private party area, which is all-inclusive, by the way, it is certainly dressing up Wrigley, but not losing the vintage feel of it. I've done just a poll of people in Chicago the last couple of days of what they think about the changes. And I got to tell you, about 98% of the people really, really like what they're doing because they're keeping that vintage feel with the ivy, etc., but adding the amenities to it.
Well, Jim, what about the lady next to you? What does she think?
She's well, she's getting a selfie right now. How are we doing? Cheese. There we go. Nice. Right.
Hey, what about the dude behind you there in the sombrero?
Check out the dude, the sombrero. He's mad because his
girlfriend's sitting next to you.
Yeah, I know. Well,
is that his girlfriend?
I don't know. Are you with him? You're not with him?
No.
Oh.
Welcome to Chicago.
Oh, wow. Okay. She's with me now, I guess.
Okay. Is that Miss Arizona? As Harry used to say, there's Miss Arizona here in town today.
You're not Miss Arizona, are you? Miss Kansas City? Chicago? No. You never know what you're going to get with the bleacher creatures. Yeah, this is true. Can we get her another beverage, please? It's her birthday.
Don't sing happy birthday. We'd have to pay for that song, Jim.
I know. We found that out the hard way.
Yes. Wow. You can only imagine what it's like out there when it's 85 and sunny.
I've been out there. That's a tough ticket to get out there in the summertime. You know that?
Oh, yeah, especially now. They haven't opened up and they had to wait so long. Obviously, you're into June now. So how many home games have they played? 27. So they went the first 26 days and home days of this season without the right field bleachers being open. They opened for the first time, as Jim mentioned yesterday.
I remember a few years ago, we had a dark day, which is it was a game being played, but it wasn't on Fox Ohio TV.
Like tomorrow.
And I tried to, so I had Gary Wayoff, the traveling secretary, give me 4 tickets. I was going to sit behind home plate, and a friend of mine was coming over. I said, no, you know what? Why don't we go out to the bleachers and we'll trade these 4 tickets right behind home plate to somebody out there for 2 bleacher seats. And there was a long line to get bleachers, and I'm saying, hey, I got 4 tickets behind home plate here. Who will trade me 2 for the bleachers? And they said, get out of here. Nobody wants to sit behind home plate.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
What did you do with the other 2 people? You asked for 4. Did you just bump them out entirely?
Oh, I got them. I got extra tickets because I figured it may take 2 for 1 to get a bleacher seat.
Gotcha.
And it still didn't work.
So you never got it?
It was 4 for 1. No, I dished my friend and went in there with a press pass.
Good one.
My former friend.
Who probably got lost somewhere in Wrigleyville and is sitting out there today. Well, we've noticed that Johnny, and you just saw it, we were just getting ready to talk about it. He's been doing a lot of stretching and moving around after having to run. I don't know if there's a tie between the two. It is very chilly outside. And now time is called and granted to Coghlan. This was in between innings after the Reds were retired with the bases loaded before Cueto took the mound. 3 balls and 2 strikes. He retires Castro to start this inning. But now full count to Coghlan, who singled and scored in the 2-run second inning. We'll keep an eye out there on Cueto. Obviously, his manager is noticing what's going on. Cubs are making him work here today. Struck out the side, did Cueto in the third. 65 pitches, and this is the 8th pitch in this at bat, trying to put away Coghlan, and he does. Fastball 92 on the outside edge. 6th strikeout of the game for Johnny.
Well, still always will be the best pitch in baseball, which is a well-placed fastball. In the case for Johnny Cueto, we'll call that our flamethrower of the day, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. 92 with some movement.
To the count on Kristen Orphean as Cueto tries to make it back-to-back perfect innings. Into right center field, hit very hard. That will roll to the ivy, and Orphean on his way to second. He'll stop right there with 2 away in the inning. And is Hamill back? They had action in the bullpen earlier. And it looks like with 2 away, he's still going to come up to hit. One on Hamill. Johnny has struck out 6. He's allowed 5 base hits. Reds have a 4-2 lead. Now remember, Hamill knocked in a run with a 2-out single his first time up. De Jesus will plant and throw in time to get him this time. That'll end the inning. We play 4, and the Reds lead 4-2. Brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer, find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. Four-2 ball game. Reds in front as they come to bat here in the top half of the 5th inning. Reds got 3 in the first. A solo home run by Frazier in the 3rd. They left him loaded in the 4th inning with a chance to really kick in the door. So Hamill's still out there to start the 5th, where he'll face Bruce, Pena, and Suarez. And that one hammered down the right field line into the corner. And Jay Bruce on the first pitch here in the 5th inning with a double to right. Jay's first hit in 3 at-bats today, and his first hit of the series.
Well, that may get some activity down the Cubs bullpen. This pitch well away from, looked like a slider that he tried to throw to the outside corner. Bruce just reaches out and hooks that ball down the line. You know, Bruce really started to turn his offensive season around when he, to me, Tom, appeared that he stopped trying to learn how to hit the ball the other way. And he just went up there and started swinging the bat. So, you know what? I'm tired of not hitting the ball hard. I'm just going to go up there and see the ball and hit the ball. And a simple approach has boosted him a little bit.
Well, anytime you can just tack on something that Chris mentioned earlier, when you have Cueto on the mound, especially, where you don't need a ton of runs to win a game, but anytime you can give a little extra breathing room, you'll certainly take it. The Reds had the double, you may remember, and it took a 2-out single after Frazier had doubled to bring him in the first inning. They had a chance last night with a runner at second and nobody out. Could not advance a runner. And here you have a leadoff double. Boy, you'd love to find a way to get Bruce in with the Reds' 5th run. Ross Cup again, a left-hander throwing in the Chicago bullpen. Pena's going to do every bit of that. Hooks it to the right side, narrowly driving that one into right field. That will get Bruce on to third base. So again, a solid job by Brian Pena. Cubs will bring the infield in. Eugenio Suarez has been hit by a pitch and struck out swinging. Bruce at third, 1 out. Suarez looking for his first run batted in wearing a Cincinnati Reds uniform. Now that you've fallen behind 2-0, do you go ahead and put Suarez on base with a pitcher spot due up next?
Well, you're still going to have to face Billy Hamilton if you do that, because it's not likely that Brian Price is going to allow Johnny Cueto to swing the bat and ground into a double play. He'll probably be up there to bunt to move the runner over, and you'll probably end up walking Hamilton or maybe take your choice of Schumacher.
100th pitch of the game by Hamill, and all but 40 of those have come out of the stretch. Short center field. This will not get the job done. So Suarez, a pop-up for the second out of the inning.
Really shallow right there. In fact, we've got 2 center fielders that play very shallow. Of course, the wind is coming in right at their back today anyway. But Fowler was playing ultra shallow on that, and He had no problem at all running that ball down. It looked like it was going to fall into no man's land when it came off the bat.
Cueto single to center his last time up, and look where Rizzo's playing, even with 2 outs after that nearly perfect bunt by Cueto. His last time up, and there's a strike. Inning started with a double by Bruce. He stands at third with 2 away, and he will end the inning stranded at third. Reds lead 4-2 as it comes down in the bottom of the 5th.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, a lot of Reds fans here this weekend. Not as many, of course, on a Thursday night as we have here on Friday, and I'm sure even more for the nighttime game tomorrow night. Another night game on Sunday night. And so far, so good for the Redlegs. They have a 4-2 lead on the first pitch to lead off the 5th. Addison Russell chops one right at Todd Frazier. 1 pitch, 1 out for Johnny. I invite you to take advantage of the Reds 4 for $48 ticket offer. That'll run next weekend, the 19th through the 21st, thanks to Reach Savings Magazine. So for $48, you get 4 tickets and 4 Reds hats. Can't beat that. Giveaways as well most of the weekend. Fireworks on Friday night. 381-REDS, or visit Reds.com for more details. Well, look at those guys. Those are real men. Weather like this. Short sleeve shirts.
When they left Cincinnati this morning, it was probably 80.
Yeah.
They're thinking, wow, it's only going to get warmer, right?
I think when I checked earlier, I think it's 90 degrees in Cincinnati today. There's a bunt back to Cueto. Throw out Fowler. Well, that's nice. 3 pitches to get 2 outs. I mean, isn't it hard to believe that it is this cold here on, what is it, June the 12th?
Yeah.
I remember in back-to-back summers when I was working here many, many years ago that, you know, we had one summer where it was very much like this, a lot more sunshine, but if I remember right, the temperature never broke 70 degrees all the way up to July the 1st. And then the very next summer was when they had the extreme heat waves that came through here. It was tragic. In 95, they had a lot of people that died in the area because of it. A 5-pitch inning for Johnny Cueto. So just like that, the Reds will bat into 6 with a 2-run lead. USA continues its quest for a 3rd World Cup title as the United States women battle Sweden at 7 o'clock Eastern. This is a big game. It'll be on your local Fox affiliate. And of course, you can catch the entire tournament streaming live on Fox Sports Go. That's tonight at 7 Eastern. Zach Rosscup, the left-hander, takes over on the mound for Hamble, who hung in there with us in his best. He allowed 4 runs, 2 of which were earned runs. 7 hits in 5 innings. Foul ball, trying to bunt his way on by Billy Hamilton.
It seems like Billy's a little more comfortable bunting from the right side right now. He's a little better at laying the ball down the left field line, you know, with a little bit of a drag bunt and then a push bunt down the first base line too. But they're playing him at corners are in tight. Did he go? Nope.
1-2 the count on Billy Hamilton. And it's taken outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Two pitch. And now full count. Four runs, 7 hits for the Reds. 2 runs on 5 hits for Chicago. Hamilton ball looking on a fastball that caught the outside corner.
Rosscup is deceivingly big. He's about 225 pounds. That fastball 94 miles an hour right at the knees. Billy thought it may have been a hair low. Originally drafted by the Tampa Bay Rays, 28th round, 2009. Traded here to the Cubs while Joe Madden was a manager in Tampa Bay.
Schumacher's been on 3 times today, scored a run, reached on an error, drawn a walk, and singled his last time up into right field. Edwin Jackson, a right-hander, starts to throw for Joe Madden's team in the bullpen. You know, we were talking about bullpens that are in the field of play, and we were having a hard time trying to come up whether or not there were others. And thanks to Joe Corneo up here in the booth. 2 American League parks we rarely ever visit. One very familiar to that man right there is Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. And the other, the O Coliseum, home of the Oakland Athletics. Two balls and a strike to Schumacher. You know, if there's one guy who would certainly look forward to abolishing bullpens in the field of play more than any other, it would be the former Red, now turned radio personality in Cincinnati in the afternoons on the flagship home of the Reds, 700 WLW, and that would be Tracy Jones.
Oh, you're not kidding.
I mean, if there is a single moment in a person's career that was a career-changing moment for Tracy Jones, it came in Montreal when he tripped over the bullpen mound, tore up his knee. You're talking about a guy whose career was off and running as a very, very impressive hitter in the Reds organization. You know, they go back to all those days he was coming through the system with Paul O'Neill and Eric Davis and Barry Larkin, all those guys. Tracy Jones was a guy back 3rd in the lineup on all those teams when they were coming up together. And he tripped over a bullpen mound in Montreal and really was never the same player again.
You're right. And knowing Tracy, when he got to the bullpen mound, he was going full out.
Yes, he was. 3-2 on Skip Schumacher. He's still alive. Schumacher has done today what a leadoff man you like him to do. He has seen 25 pitches in his now 4 plate appearances today. You like it even more when he gets on base every time. And he's done that too. And he's done it again.
Put a play on, seeing guys up at the plate and on base in the first inning, and it worked out when DeJesus hit a double. Don't know if Brian Price would do it again here or not. Spazio is going to come out for a visit.
Gives us a chance to remind you that free autographs, you can get them from your favorite MLB and Reds legends and Hall of Famers, including Barry Larkin, Tony Perez, Eric Davis, and so many more at T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest. And that comes, of course, with the price of admission. Tickets are available right now. Just go to allstargame.com. Talked about how good the Cubs bullpen has been of late. go back almost a month. Collectively, an earned run average at 1.77. Their bullpen last night carved through the final 6 innings of shutout baseball against the Reds. Their starter was taken out of the game, Wada, after he gave up a home run to Chris Dominguez to lead off the 4th inning. Joe Madden said that's enough. 3-1 now on DeJesus Jr. On a run scoring double and a 3-run first, scored himself on a double by Todd Frazier. He walked in the second, grounded to short 2 in the 4th inning. Borderline strike there. Ivan did not like it. Third consecutive full count to start this inning by Roscoe, and he gets his second strikeout.
How about that? Came back from 3-0. 2 fastballs and a slider.
And DeJesus still smarting on that strike 2 call.
Roscoe keeps it simple. He's a 2-pitch pitcher. Fastball, slider is all he offers.
Joey Votto 0 for 2 was intentionally walked in front of Frazier in the 4th inning. One ball and 1 strike on Joey Votto. Good eye by Votto. Breaking ball misses low and away. 2 balls and a strike. Frazier waits on deck. Roscup has run a full count on each of the 3 batters he has faced in this inning. He has 2 strikeouts and a walk. 2-1 to Votto. Say Votto take that much time, that tells you he wasn't happy with that call either.
Votto usually gets his point across, but he doesn't make it known to everybody in the ballpark. I think umpires appreciate that. Unless you get a reputation for too much of it.
Struck him out to end the inning. 3 strikeouts for Roscup. Cubs back in the 6th inning, trailing the Reds 4-2. Cubbies, and it comes your way tomorrow as part of Fox's Baseball Night in America. Coverage begins tomorrow night, 7 Eastern, only on Fox. Johnny Cueto has only allowed one base runner since the run-scoring double by Addison Russell with 2 away in the 2nd inning. That was a 2-out double by Denorfia in the 4th. Johnny has struck out 6. He's not walked about it. He's allowed 2 runs on 5 hits. And starts Bryant off with a breaking ball strike. Bryant is single to left, struck out swinging. It's just off the outside corner. Line into center field. That is a base hit. Got a funny sound coming off the bat.
I think the ball got in on him a little bit. Again, I think Cueto had very good success against him his last time up by getting him out, down, and in. That ball jammed him a little bit, or he jammed himself a little bit, but he hit it hard enough to get a base hit. Not a threat to run. Although he did steal 15 bases in the minor leagues last year.
Miguel Montero down 0-1. He is grounded to second and struck out. In the air, Votto and Pena will give it a look, but it's a good 10-12 rows out of play behind the Reds' first base side dugout. Reds have out hit them 7-6. Reds have outscored them 4-2. First time the Cubs have had a leadoff man aboard. I don't know what Cub it is down there that continues to just litter the playing field. I don't know if those are sunflower seeds, but every time you look down there, somebody's throwing handfuls of something out onto the warning track area right in front of the Cubs dugout.
Those are awfully big for sunflower seeds.
Yeah,
but they could be.
I mean, somebody just had handful after handful just throwing. There they go again and again. Jim Day, you have any idea what's going on down there?
I believe they're having fun trying to feed the birds because they are circling and they're doing the same thing on the outfield. So I think boys will be boys. They're just trying.
Yeah, but the birds here, I mean, we're talking about seagulls. They're spoiled. They like the leftover hot dogs and nachos and pizza. They're not looking for seeds.
This is a phenomenon we see, frequently for years and years and years and years, and we see the same thing in San Francisco. And these birds, they know when to come around this ballpark. They normally start games around 1:20. When we played the entire game here last night, you didn't see a single one of these birds.
It was dark.
Yes, it was. But here they are sitting around the outfield. Games normally start at 1:20. They come in here in the stands when everybody's gone, and they just go into a feeding frenzy. But when all of a sudden you start a game later in the day, like we did here today at 3 o'clock, because there's a roller back to the mound. Cueto looked at second and played to first. And you'll see more and more of them coming in as this game rolls along. Because here we are at 5 o'clock, and they're used to this place being empty.
Well, they got a little internal clock going on.
Yeah. It's just really amazing to watch nature at work before your very eyes. In all the years I worked here, I mean, you'd have the 120 game, and the second you have a 220 game, in they would come when the 120 game would normally be over, and just circling and waiting for everybody to get out of here.
I would imagine the Cowboys' stomach is beginning to make a few noises right now, getting close to dinner time.
Probably
so
is.
Maybe it's not that rare of a phenomena after all.
You're right. Well, he's all stirred up. There's Castro. He's been retired twice today. He's flied to right and grounded out to short.
Boy, this guy used to be a cinch to hit 300 every year, and there's no really, you have to look very far as the reason why he's beginning to slump. Batting average down around 260. Watch his front foot. He never really comes back to closed.
Foul ball.
And he's having a difficult time driving the outside pitch because he just pulls off of it just to here. It doesn't take very much in your front foot to stay open for you not to be able to cover that outside part of the plate, especially if the ball is down. Hit 292 last year.
Good swing there, but found it straight back 1-2.
And Castro, when he came into the league, was a starter right from the very beginning. Hit 300 his first year, 2010. Hit 307 his sophomore year. And his next best year was last year when he had 14 home runs and batted 292.
That ball is killed. If it's fair, it's gone. Tie game.
Cueto, I don't think he wanted it on the inner part of the plate at all because that's where Castro can handle it. And he threw it where he just left.
So for Cueto, you're cruising along. You've only allowed one base runner over the last 3 innings. And then all of a sudden, just like that, bang, tie game. 2 are out in the inning. You know, that's one of the reasons why. It's not making any excuses for Johnny Cueto, but it's one of the reasons why for a 3rd day in a row now we have brought up. You get a leadoff double, and how important the little runs are to build up over the course of a game. Reds had a leadoff double in the 5th inning. Could not get the runner in. We saw it twice in a game last night. And again, it's not making excuses for Cueto. He's a guy that gave up a 2-run home run and tied the game. But you get 2 ground balls and you got a couple more runs.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss by Denorfia.
What for Starlin Castro, and this is a stat that has just been handed to me, hard to believe. His first home run at Wrigley since last June. Wow.
And now Denorfia hit with a fastball that ran up and in. Mike Baxter will come up and bat for Roscoe. Roscoe works an inning. No hits, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, no runs. Tapper foul wide of first. Baxter is their only left-handed batter off the bench. They do have a switch hitter in Jonathan Herrera. Each team with 4 runs, each team with 7 base hits. Nothing in 2 on Baxter. Cueto closing in on 100 pitches. Strike 3 called. The inning is over, but a big home run by Castro ties this game at the end of 6 at 4. Summary. Reds jumped all over Jason Hamill thanks in part to an error to begin the inning. Schumacher scoring on a double by De Jesus, and Ivan would score on a double to deep left center field by Todd Frazier. Reds would get 3 in the first inning. Then in the second, a couple of runs, one knocked in by Hamill, the other here by Addison Russell, made it a 1-run game, but Frazier stretched the lead to a pair with a home run to left center, his team high 18th of the year. And you thought, well, Cueto cruising right along, and that he was until this one was left there to get hammered by Castro in the just completed 6th inning. And it is 4-4 as left-hander James Russell takes over on the mound to face Frazier, Bruce, and Pena here in the Cincinnati 7th inning. No action in the Reds bullpen. Frazier is 2 of 3. RBI double scored in the first. Solo home run in the third. And a big out for Hamill came in the 4th inning. With the bases loaded, he struck Frazier out to end the inning. Three balls and a strike. Well, by using the left-hander Russell here, you do have to face Frazier. Lefty righty. You have the left-handed batting Bruce on deck, and most teams would rather face Brian Pena as a left-hander, as a right-handed batter, than they would as a left-handed hitter. And that would be the case with Russell on the mound. 3-1 pitch. And a rocket. Nice pickup by Russell. That's a big play.
Right. Now, the Cubs knew in that trade that they made with Oakland last year that they were getting a real prize prospect in Addison Russell. He shows off some nice glove work right there.
Here's Jay Bruce, 1 of 3, double down the right field line in the 5th. That was that double we were talking about just a moment ago, when Pena did his job by advancing Bruce second to third after the 2-base hit. But then Suarez unable to drive in the run, and he retired Cueto to end the inning, stranding Jay at third base. In the air over there, the Cubs bullpen. Popped in and then out of the mitt of Chris Bryant.
A little more room down there right now than there will be when they finish the stadium. That'll be probably the second or third row where Chris Bryant is.
What are those little lunch bucket looking things down there? There are 3 or 4 of them sitting in front of the bench.
Probably for snacks. Jay didn't like that at all. He was ejected last week from a ball game, arguing balls and strikes. He said he protested a little too long in that. He apologized for it afterwards, said, hey, that's not really me, but I could see why he didn't like that call. You know, you're looking at Addison Russell making that play to start the inning off time. This is an infield where the old man in the infield is Starlin Castro, and he's 25 years old. He's playing in his 6th major league season. And if the Cubs wanted to, they could keep this infield together for quite a while now. Assuming that Chris Bryant and Addison Russell will continue to progress as they have already in their young professional careers. Anthony Rizzo is 25. The other 2 are rookies.
The ball hit hard the other way by Pena. It's a nice running catch out there by Denorfia to end the inning. They stand and stretch. Largest crowd of the year today at Wrigley. Better than 40,000 on this chilly Friday.
Every time we do the 7th inning.
2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at Reds.com. Voting is exclusively online now and available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Vote early, vote often, and vote Reds today at Reds.com. Big game coming up on July 14th in the Queen City, and you can see it on the Big Fox.
Now look at those guys. I'm telling you what, man, it's not complaining, because there's nothing you can do about it. So there's no sense in complaining about it. But it is cold here today, man.
Well, maybe you just ought to strip down to your muscle shirt like that guy. And
somebody don't have any muscles. I mean, it's one thing to get away with that if you have muscles.
Well, you have goosebumps.
Good point there. There's a high drive into left center field by Russell. And all of a sudden that wind is picked up. Look at the wind. The flag's out there out of nowhere. It's got to be blowing in 25 miles per hour. And it clearly knocked that ball down.
You know, outfielders will tell me over the years, Tom, that they check the flag every batter up there because it can change very quickly here. It was never really blowing out today, so it's not one of those days where you have a lot of shifting winds, but stronger now than it was earlier in the game, no doubt. And that was affected by the wind. That ball was headed for the basket at least.
You know, I love the point you made last night because I think it is a very interesting one, and no one would have the answer yet because they just completed everything. And it's the first time the bleachers have been open. They're higher than they've been in the past. They have the big scoreboard down the right field line. That's never been there before. They have the big video board out there in left field. And, you know, it used to be where when that video board in left field, it's why Ryne Sandberg hit so many home runs in this ballpark, because he hit home runs the way Frazier did going back to the third inning. A lot of line drive home runs that were never affected by the wind. But balls hit way up into the air like that one hit by Russell would be knocked down when winds were coming in from the northeast off Lake Michigan. But now with the board, who knows? Mentioned going to break. This is the largest crowd of the season. There's strike three called a foul. And that is the 8th of the game for Johnny Cueto. You know, I want to send out a belated happy anniversary, and I dropped the ball yesterday. Our distinguished director, Brian Hunterman, on the road yesterday for his 38th anniversary. His wife, Paul, is along with him. 38 years. They have been married. Happy anniversary to the Huntermans. Wow. How about that?
Paula's going right to heaven.
Well, hopefully they are having a wonderful weekend in Chicago, and it's about to get a whole lot better because Brian will have tomorrow off and Sunday off. So he can do a little celebrating starting tonight. You know, you ask the question all the time, you know, do you think about trying to put down a bunt? Now with 2 outs, a little surprised. Maybe to lead off an inning, a guy like Rizzo. But the Reds are putting a big shift on him.
Well, you know, Rizzo is not one of these hitters that panics, I think, when he gets 2 strikes on him. He still has a good idea of the strike zone. And, you know, there may be people even in the Cubs dugout saying, hey, we don't mind if one of these other guys tries to lay down a bunt, but in a tie ball game, late in the game, we prefer you go ahead and swing away towards those bleachers out there. But he still has a pitch for pitch to do that.
Rizzo has 11 home runs. On base percentage of .441. Shows bunt with 2 strikes even in the at bat. Didn't offer it the pitch. And the Reds are still not going to change their shift. If he wants to bunt his way on, they'll let him bunt. He took a big hack there. He does have 4 career bunt hits. That may come as a surprise to many. I know it does to me. Wanted that call. Can't believe he didn't get it.
Well, Brian Pena, sets up so far outside that from a pitcher's perspective, it looks like you hit your spot and you want that pitch. But the fact is, it didn't go across the dish.
Struck him out anyway. Reds will come to bat in the 8th in a 4-4 tie. All right, Jeff Pecoro, thank you very much. Look forward to catching up with you here shortly. Johnny Cueto, 7 innings, has allowed 4 runs. Had a 4-2 lead. In fact, he had leads of 3-0 and 4-2 before the game-tying 2-run home run off the bat of Starlin Castro in the 6th inning. Jason Mott, longtime Cardinal, and is closed down a couple of games here recently for Joe Madden. Takes over on the mound. Cubs bullpen in this series closing in on 8 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball. Eugenio Suarez had a chance to knock in a run his last time up 2 times ago. No, last time up. Runner at third and 1 out and popped up. He's also struck out today and been hit by a pitch. We are in the 8th inning, game 2 of this 4-game weekend set. Overall, it's exactly 8 innings now when you include the 6th work by Roscup. And the Cubs bullpen last night and today, 8 innings, 4 hits, 9 strikeouts in 8 innings, no runs allowed.
And the only Cubs reliever to pitch more than 1 inning in these 2 ball games is the first guy that Joe Madden brought in. That was Travis Wood in the 4th inning last night. So he was a long man. He went 2 1/3. Everybody else has gone 1 or less. You're giving everybody a chance to throw the ball.
Up and in, 3-2. Mott, the one-time closer with the Redbird.
Yeah, and a one-time catcher in the minor leagues. And you can really see by his delivery. I mean, it's just kind of pick your leg up, get your hand behind your right ear, and let it loose.
One out.
Mott saved 42 games for the Cardinals in 2012. That's 42 out of 49 chances.
Well, the day is over for Johnny Cueto. Brandon Phillips will bat for him. Johnny goes 7, allows 7 hits, 4 runs, all earned. Struck out 9, hit a batter, did not walk a batter. Brandon playing the best baseball that we've seen from him in the last year and a half, 2 years. Tuesday night against Philadelphia went hitless in 2 plate appearances and had to leave the game with a strained left groin. Swinging a foul ball out of play. Jim Day, I asked you the question yesterday, and I ask you the question right now. You did not think Phillips would start the game today. He did not. You know, based on your relationship with him and you know, the conversations you guys have multiple times on a daily basis, what do you think about the remainder of the weekend?
I would say it's up in the air. There wasn't anything to judge today because they didn't have batting practice, did not take infield, but did talk to Brian Price before the game. And yesterday he was fine taking batting practice, so he said he was an available piece off the bench to pinch hit, which he's doing right now. But he was a little gingerly taking ground balls yesterday. And he says he's going to be a little more conservative with this injury because it can go south in a hurry. And if it goes south in a hurry, then he will be out for an extended period of time. He's going to be a little conservative with it. I would doubt he would be in the starting lineup tomorrow. That's just me talking, just because he said they are going to be conservative with it and taking ground balls. Again, a little gingerly there, and this cold weather isn't helping either.
All right, Jim Day, thank you. Having a pretty good at bat here. There's some pretty good swings on Mott. 1 ball and 2 strikes. If there's one guy who knows what's going on down there in Reds baseball, it is Jim Day. I'll tell you what, he's down there braving the elements today.
Well, he brought all that very nice Fox, Ohio outerwear with him. He was one of the smart ones.
Punched into center, 2 out. Take a look at some of that rain gear down there. Where is he? Let's take a look at this real quick, though, on Brandon. Huh? Jim, how you feeling down there?
I'm not gonna lie, it's cold. I can't believe I'm seeing my breath in the middle of June. It's a big old hang with it, though. I did bring the gear, though. My goodness.
Did you pay for that gear?
Not a cent.
Good for you.
This is government issued.
Good for you. It's got the Fox Sports Ohio logo on it and everything, right?
Good looking stuff.
Really is. You gotta start selling that stuff.
Well, we could probably get online. We could probably buy it.
I don't know. I don't know if we could or not. Jim, where did you get that? I mean, did the company get that for you, or did you make that on your own?
The company did give this to me. Felt sorry for me when I got drenched one day. So they, let's face it, though, I'm a walking billboard, too. So they put logos on me. I'd put logos all over. I walk in front of thousands of people on a daily basis.
That one tapped
right
out. Is there a CincinnatiUSA.com logo on there?
There is not, you know, but we can add one. if they would like to pony up some luggage. No, just kidding. No, there's not one on here.
Okay.
No, just Fox Sports.
Okay.
Big Fox Sports logo.
Oh, so it's not Fox Sports Ohio.
Yeah, we are going now with just the Fox Sports logo across all regions.
Okay.
So it's all the same.
Two and two on Billy. The Reds' offense has just completely gone to sleep. Almost exactly what happened in the game here yesterday. And there's another pop-up. And the inning is over. Reds are gone in order. They have not had a hit since a double by Bruce to lead off the fifth. Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. A cold, foggy, just miserable June Friday in Chicago. Temperatures slipping into the very low 50s. That wind kicks up. I bet the wind chills somewhere maybe in the high 40s. It is that cold on this Friday, June 11th or June 12th. Kid's got a ski jacket on. J.J. Hoover takes on with the mound, replacing Johnny Cueto, who goes to front seven. J.J. having an outstanding season.
Kind of an interesting line for Johnny Cueto, at least for him. Fifth time in his career that he's gone and had 9 strikeouts or more and not walked a batter. At the same time, he gave up 4 runs. And normally, with the batting average against on Johnny Cueto, if he doesn't walk anybody, he doesn't give up very much in the way of runs. All 4 earned. Be careful here. Cubs like to swing 3-0.
Saw it 3 times in the game last night. That's pitcher strike there. Inside corner.
3-0 Leo.
Leadoff walk to Bryant here in the 8th inning.
That's the one thing that J.J. Hoover was doing a lot more early in the year, walking batters. In fact, he walked 3 in a ball game. That was the game in which he gave up a grand slam, has not walked a batter now before that one for 2 weeks.
In the air, center field. And that'll take care of Miguel Montero. Well, the hero so far today for the Cubs will get a big round of applause when he's introduced, and that's Starlin Castro. He had the big home run that tied the game into 6. Well, perhaps not so warm round of applause. Avenue. It came with Bryant aboard to tie the game at 4, and that's where we are in the last of the 8th inning. Broken bat roller. They get 1. They get 2. And that'll end the inning. Leadoff walk. JJ takes care of that. Reds have the top of the order coming up in the 9th of a 4-4 ball game. Ballpark is part of Super Saturdays. The first 25,000 fans in attendance receive a Brandon Phillips bobblehead presented by Fox Sports Ohio. Call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or log on to Reds.com/tickets. Pedro Strop becomes the 4th Cubs reliever today. They got 3 innings out of their starter last night. They got 5 out of Hamill today. And their bullpen has only allowed 2 base hits in 9 innings of work. Cubs' 9th pitching change in the last 2 days. Strop, we saw him for an inning last night.
Yeah, they ran 6 pitchers off the roster last night. Strop was number 5 today. Chapman beginning to get it loose down the Reds bullpen. Looks like he's throwing a weighted ball down there. Aroldis is. I would presume a black baseball. Normally you buy a set of those, and the dark ones are the heavier ones.
Now he'll go the more standard issue regular baseball looks like.
I've seen those used as training devices, but not too often actually thrown in the bullpen. That helps you get warmed up a little bit.
Mac Jenkins, a Reds bullpen coach down there with a hooded sweatshirt on. Of course, for years and years before Mac held that job, it was Porky Lopez under manager Dusty Baker.
Sure was. Mac was a roving pitching coach in the Reds minor league organization. You know, in addition to the bullpen job that he does, which is keep his eye on all the relievers, he's also in charge of preparing a lot of the scouting reports on the opposing hitters. The Reds have taken all that in-house this year. They've taken their advanced scout off the road.
Slap to the third baseman, Bryant. And the first time that Schumacher has been retired today. He's reached on an air, walk twice, single. 9 1/3 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball by this Cubs bullpen in the first 2 games of this series. They have been the difference so far. Now the Reds bullpen hasn't given up anything either. But the Cubs did enough damage to Michael Lorenzen last night, where a 1-run lead after the Dominguez home run, and that's when the Cubs went to their bullpen. It was 4-3 Chicago. The Reds would only have 1 hit over the final 4 innings. They only, in fact, they don't have a single hit over the last 4 innings of this game. Jay Bruce had a double to lead off the 5th. Next 3 retired. They had a 1-out walk in the 6th. They went down in order in both the 7th and 8th innings. Jesus didn't even wait for the appeal. He's out of there on strikes, 2 gone in the 9th. He knew he went. Now Joey, 0 for 3 in the game. Votto with 1 hit in the series. That was a double leading off the 3rd inning last night. That was another example of where the Reds got a double to start an inning and did not score a run. Balls and a strike, and a ground ball softly hit to the 3rd baseman. Sounded like a broken bat, and that'll end the inning. 12 in a row retired by Cubs pitching. What a play by Skip Schumacher. That was in fair territory now. That ended the second inning after the Cubs had already scored a couple of runs off Johnny Cueto on that frame. Skip's had a good day at the plate.
Now, Aroldis Chapman was down and throwing in the bullpen, and he was throwing like he was ready to come into the ballgame. But I guess because J.J. Hoover had such an easy inning last inning, ending it on a double play ball, faced only 3 batters, he's back out there for another.
Coughlin to lead things off, then DeNorfia, and then a pinch hitter. J.J. walked the first batter he faced in the 8th inning, but got Montero on a fly ball to center and Castro on a double play to end the inning. Coughlin 1 of 3, singled and scored the first Cub run in the second inning. He since struck out and popped up to Frazier at third base. Jesus not in time. That ball took a funny bounce on him. And all this momentum going towards the third base side dugout had very little on the throw.
Ball really jammed Coughlin right there, and it probably had some spin on. Looked like he had a little moment of trouble time getting it out of his glove.
Out of the Cubs bunt right here to try to get that go-ahead run or make it a winning run at second base.
Well, DeNorfia squares and bunts it back to the screen. Well, you look on their bench. Yeah, the pitcher spot due up next. They have Jonathan Herrera, who's a switch hitter. They have outfielder Junior Lake and the backup catcher, right-handed batting, David Ross, and now Herrera makes his way into the on-deck circle. 1 ball and 1 strike on DeNorfia. Gary Jones, their third base coach, getting the signs from Joe Madden, relays him on to the batter DeNorfia and the runner Coughlin. Coughlin can run now. Bunted. Votto looked at second. Will take the out behind him, and a sacrifice puts the winning run here in the bottom of the ninth at second base with 1 out.
The only way you throw to second base is if you know for a fact that you're going to get the runner, and then you normally decide that before you field the ball, just based on the timing of the play. I mean, if he comes up throwing right away, I think he's got his man no problem.
And it's taken high. It was Herrera who had a game-winning hit to beat the Reds in the bottom of a 10th inning. We saw him earlier this season. One ball and 1 strike on Herrera. Today's game produced by Josh Hall, directed by Brian Hunterman. Our associate producers, Matt Sigafus and Lauren White. Reds Live, produced by Kent Weaver. Coordinating producer of Reds Baseball is Bob Pennell. Our executive producer at Fox Sports Ohio, Tom Farmer. Here's a 1-2. Over the screen and out of play. Winning run at second base here in the bottom of the ninth inning of a 4-4 game. Reds trying to even this series at a game apiece. Trying to send it into a 10th inning. Addison Russell, the number 9 hitter, scheduled next. Right now it's Herrera. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Ball stays high. 2-2.
That's a situation that if you flip that little breaking ball up there and it kind of comes out of your hand and it's a bad one, you can come right back with a good one this time. If you think that's a pitcher you really wanted.
Came back with a fastball. And Bruce, a diving play in right center field. Runner tags up and goes to third, but a game-saving play made by Jay Bruce in right center field. What a catch.
Game-saving effort. You are exactly right. It's like he hung up in air for just a moment and found that ball with his glove. Wow.
What a great play there by Bruce. So now the largest crowd of the season here at Wrigley, 40,016. Most of which are hanging around through a dreadful day. Rise as one as the Cubs have the winning run at third with 2 outs in the last of the ninth inning. Breaking ball. Don't know where that missed. Hoover wondering the same thing. Was it high?
You don't get as many breaking balls called at the top of the zone as you do the bottom of the zone. Randy Parr down there getting loose in Reds bullpen. Brian Price would use him.
Well, probably for Fowler. Fowler, a switch hitter, who obviously gets a ton more at bats and more comfortable from the left side of the plate. Rio pitch to Russell. 4-pitch walk. Pico's going to come out. Now Fowler has been a far better right-handed hitter so far this season. We talked about he gets a lot more at bats, but he's doing a lot more hitting. He's 14 of only 40 at bats this entire year as a right-handed hitter. That's a .350 average. And batting in the 230s is a left-handed batter. So that meeting didn't last all that long, and a few extra words making sure everybody's on the same page here. Votto telling Hoover that he's going to be playing behind the runner, something you always have to remind the pitcher about, right, Chris, just in case.
You do, but here you got the leadoff hitter, Tom, who's a very adept bunter as well, and he could win this game with a bunt on the right side of the infield. He's got 3 bunt hits so far this year. I know it would kind of go against the grain and unconventional, no doubt, but I mean, there's a
He could sacrifice a bunt to the right side and with his speed get to first base. Game over.
Because Votto and the second baseman De Jesus have their heels on the grass. Well, he's not going to do it now. Or you wouldn't figure he'd do it now. It's 0-2.
We did see Rizzo square on 2 strikes.
Yep. So JJ coming right after Fowler and jumps in front 0-2. Back in the Eastern time zone. And here we are in the bottom of the 9th inning of the 4-4 game. High drive, deep center. Hamilton gets back there, and we're off to extra innings, where the Reds are 1-4. The Cubs are 5-2. Jay Bruce saved this game in this 9th inning with this spectacular grab. We're tied at 4. Jack Link's beef jerky all season long. There's a mouthful. Jack Link's beef jerky. Feed your wild side. Cool. All right. Well, this day rolls on from Wrigley Field in Chicago. Dark, foggy, cold, bone-chilling. So those are the records we mentioned a moment ago. Cubs have won 5 of 7. Reds have dropped 4 of 5 in extra innings. Reds have the heart of the order against the Cub closer, who comes on to pitch, Hector Rondon. Strike one to Todd Frazier. The Reds have not had a hit. They have only had one base runner over the last 4 innings. They've not had a hit since a leadoff man in the 5th, and we are in the 10th. 0-2. Well, Aroldis Chapman is throwing in the bullpen. Manny Parra was up earlier. And you have the left-handed batting Rizzo to start the inning, but they have Rizzo, Bryant, and Montero. That is lefty, righty, lefty in the bottom of the 10th. Now ball down to Bryant, bobbles, and his throw is, fortunately for the Cubs, that ball hit the railing over there because it was on its way to the stands, which would have sent Frazier to second base. Cubs caught a real break there.
Well, the Reds catch a break on the error, and then the Cubs catch a break, only that it's a one-base error.
Jay Bruce. 1 of 4, double to right in the 5th, made a great diving play in the just completed bottom of the 9th inning. And a bouncer into right field. This will send Frazier to third. So the Reds, who did not have a hit since a Bruce double in the 5th, have Bruce come through with a single into right here in the 10th. And the Reds have him on the corners with none out.
This little ground ball that with the first baseman over at the bag, it opens up the infield on the right side.
Pena, a run-scoring single in the 1st, is then struck out, grounded to 2nd. And boy, he hammered a ball as a right-handed batter down the right field line. Denorfia made an over-the-shoulder running catch to take away extra bases. Pena's back behind the plate. Obviously, the entire game, he did not like that call a little bit. Can't blame him. Ryan has only struck out, what, twice? Going back to the 20th of May. One ball and 2 strikes. That base hit by Bruce is the first hit allowed by a Cub reliever in the game today. But now can the Reds score off this Cub bullpen for the first time in 2 days? Go ahead, run at third. Nobody out. Pena fights it off to stay alive. Well, how about those numbers right there for Brian Pena? That is money in the bank. It is close. It is late. Tie game, 10th inning.
Avoid the strikeout here. Do something with the ball.
Infield in. Runner takes off first to second. That'll be a stolen base for Jay Bruce, his 5th. Now Montero going to come out and talk to Rondon.
You know, just the fact that Hector Rondon is on this ball club is kind of another tribute to the Cubs scouting department. They got him in a Rule 5 draft from the Cleveland Indians in 2012. Which meant all throughout the year of 2013 they had to keep him on the roster. Really not sure whether he was going to be big league capable or not. He came from the Cleveland Indians. He had Tommy John surgery in 2010, then had a fractured elbow in 2011. So the Indians said, well, you know, an injury guy like that, we're not going to protect on the 40-man. And here he is, a closer for the Cubs. Just 2 years later.
2-2 on Pena. Off the outside corner, a full count. Brian fell behind on his at bat, nothing in 2. Now he's running full.
I got to figure with a base open, he's going to see another slider here. Or a fastball up and out of the zone.
Frazier reached on an error, went to third on a single by Bruce. Jay steals second, none out. Second and third, 3-2 pitch. Wow. 1 out in the inning. He got it all right and he missed it. Well, now a second chance with a runner at third and fewer than 2 outs for Suarez, who popped up. Was unable to get in Bruce from third back in the 5th inning. He can more than make amends for that right here and right now. That's a go-ahead run at third. Ball 1. Reds have Brennan Bosch, a left-handed batter. Waiting in the on-deck circle.
I imagine that this matchup has happened before. They are both from Venezuela. Rondon's a few years older. He's about 4 years older than Suarez is. Baseball's a small world.
2-0 to Suarez. Boy, that was not a pretty 2-0 swing right there.
He's got a very good, he's got a disappearing slider. I mean, you talk to hitters about facing him and the ball just goes straight down. Looks more like a splitter sometimes than it is a slider, although I don't think he throws so much of a splitter.
Reds 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. They are hitless in their last 7 such at bats. All they need here is a deep fly ball to give them the lead. And Suarez in search, after just being called up yesterday, of his first RBI as a Red. One delivery. Squeeze. And it's bunted foul back to the screen.
Good call, though.
I imagine one of the uncertainties is that you just call a guy up and does he know your signs? I know you go over the signs and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes you want to make sure that they know them when it really counts. All right, well, he struck out Brian Pena on a slider. Had a bad swing already in this at bat from Suarez on a slider. Just missed with a high fastball. I got to figure he's going back to the slider here.
3-2 pitch coming to Suarez. And this will get the job done. A base hit into left field. That will plate Todd Frazier. The first RBI as a Cincinnati Red. For Eugenio Suarez, breaks a 4-4 tie here in the 10th.
Well, very much like the first run of the game that the Reds scored in the first inning. All set up by an error on a ground ball. Suarez bangs it by the drawn-in infield.
And it's not an obstruction call over there as Jay Bruce jumps over the shortstop on his way to third.
But Frazier fired up, cheering his teammate Suarez. And now Bosch with a runner at third and only one out. Looks at a strike. Chapman ready in the Reds bullpen. Reds would love to give him another run to work with. And a dribbler foul. 0-2. The fog is getting thicker by the minute. It's almost at a point now where you cannot see the high-rise buildings just a couple of blocks away out into center. You can't see any of them down the right field line or out the left field line. There you get a look. Nothing and 2 on Brennan Bosch. Runner takes off first to second. They fake the throw, and Bosch is out of there on strikes on 3 pitches. Billy Hamilton has popped up 3 times in the game and struck out. And you see 3 of 5 in his career against Rondon. And he's down strike 1. 1-2 on Billy Hamilton. Cubs have the meat of their lineup against Chapman. It will be power against power in that bottom of this 10th inning. Rizzo, Bryant, Montero. Reds have 2 in scoring position for Hamilton. With 2 away, a run home, and a 5-4 Cincinnati lead. Ball, 2-strike pitch in the air right, and that will do it. But the Reds take advantage of the Chris Bryant error and get a single by Suarez to take the lead, and now Aroldis Chapman will try and nail it down to even this series. It will not be easy for the Reds closer, but you'll take your chances anytime you can hand a lead to Aroldis Chapman.
Well, he's pretty good when you give him the lead. Aroldis Chapman is, obviously, and it really doesn't matter when Chapman is on his game, whether you're facing the bottom of the lineup or the middle of the lineup. He's had plenty of innings to warm up. He was up there a couple of innings ago, and they decided to send J.J. Hoover out for a second inning.
Only 1 blown save this entire year. Chapman went nearly an entire calendar year between blown saves. His only missed chance this year came on the Reds' last road trip in Philadelphia.
Yeah, went more than a calendar year between home runs, and the home run had something to do with that blown save that you're talking about. 29th game overall. 45 strikeouts, 27 innings for Chapman.
Anthony Rizzo looks at strike 1 and 98-mile-per-hour fastball. Look at the numbers for Rizzo against left-handers this year.
That's impressive.
Nothing and 1.
He'll make you throw strikes for the most part. Rizzo will. Chapman's no ordinary lefty.
Of course, these two had a little history last year. They quickly put it to bed, you may remember, when Chapman hit Rizzo with a pitch.
And then Rizzo jawed from him from the Cubs dugout. Chapman did the same a little bit, more through body language than anything else.
ball and 2 strikes on the Cubs first baseman, having an outstanding season again here in 2015. That's in and out of the mid of Pena, and it was foul tipped. One ball and 2 strikes. Chapman to Rizzo. Slider in the dirt to even the count. We have a right-handed batter and Bryant next, and then the left-handed batting catcher, Miguel Montero. This guy's a tough out.
First time an All-Star last year. He was voted in as a fan favorite. In fact, the other from the American League representative, also from Chicago, Chris Sale, voted in the final vote by the fans.
Joey Votto, you see, he chokes up with 2 strikes, and he's gone swinging on a 101-mile-per-hour fastball from Chapman. One away in the 10th inning.
Aroldis going back to the good old #1 when all else fails, and he just plays powder river there with Rizzo.
Now Bryant, and it is seemingly getting foggier by the minute. Chris, does any of that come down at the field level?
I imagine it probably does. I would have, it kind of lightens up and then it gets foggy again. I don't think it would be difficult to see a ball up in the air right now, unless you're sitting up where we are.
Boy, it is just incredible this day here today. And it gets weirder by the minute. Slider swung on and missed. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Bryant.
You know, every once in a while you get a day like this at Wrigley Field just so you don't completely forget about Candlestick Park in San Francisco. Because that's what this feels like a night in Candlestick.
It sure does. Blew him away on gas up in a strike zone. Back-to-back strikeouts by Chapman. 2 outs and 1 more to go. Montero digging in. First pitch slider and a beauty on the outside quarter, a strike. Ball and 1 strike to Montero. Well, he had a good cut there. A fastball at 97 right down the pike. And Montero fouls it straight back. So now the Reds fans here in attendance, it's their turn to stand up and make a little noise. Chapman a strike away and out away from a Reds extra inning win. 1-2 pitch. Bounces up there. Of course, Jay Bruce came up with the big play in right field, the diving stab for the second out of the inning with a winning run at second base. And then Bruce with the key single, advancing Frazier first to third after Frazier had reached to begin the inning on an error by Chris Bryant. And now is Chapman's turn. 2-2 pitch. Full count. Okay, the two left-handed batters have had the best at-bats in the inning. He just blew Bryant away. That was no contest. Three-two pitch. Tying run aboard. The winning run comes to the plate in the form of Starlin Castro. Send in a pinch runner. Well, when is the last time David Ross pinch ran for somebody? Is that David Ross?
I can't believe it. It sure is. I mean, they do have Travis Wood in the bullpen. He pitched a couple innings last night. Don't know if he'd be available in a long extra inning game or not, but
fly ball to left, and that will do it as Schumacher squeezes it tightly. So Chapman nails it down for Hoover, who goes to 5-0. Aroldis picks up his 13th save in 14 tries, and the Reds have evened this series at a game apiece. Our steel power tool performer getting his first RBI as a Red is a Eugenio Suarez with a bouncer against a drawn-in infield in the left field plating Frazier. As the Reds in 10 win it by a final count of 5-4. It is time for Reds Live. Reds win 5-4 the final.